Cool.
Hey. Finally.
Top man.
Thanks for coming.
How are we doing? No, thank you so much.
Let's have some water.
So go on, how did this come about?
How did this come about?
Yeah.
You messaged me on Instagram.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
And just said you're having a great season. I see you follow the podcast. Do you want to come on? And I was like, yes, please. Never done a podcast before. So, yeah.
And why did you suddenly... Because I either expected that you wouldn't read it and see it, or you would just go, I'm busy, thanks. I'm trying to get Forest into Europe and win the FA Cup. Why did you say yes?
Because I've been listening to the podcast for so many years. And like I just said in there, I've taken so many lessons from you guys and the guests you've had on that, yeah, have sort of shaped me to become a better person and a better footballer.
Love
Thank
that.
you.
Right, should we do it then?
Yeah.
Let's get on with it, right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here.
First of all, congratulations. What a season. How do you feel when you reflect on it?
I think when I've taken a few weeks to look back, it's an incredible achievement for over 30 years outside of Europe, fighting relegation for the past 2 seasons. It's an incredible achievement, but if I'm totally honest, one with a slight bit of, I wouldn't say regret, but not having that chance to go even further. I think there'll always be that sense of wanting more, but that's just part and parcel. But I think overall it's an incredible achievement.
And when was that feeling of frustration at its peak for you?
Probably say the next morning after I woke up, after the Chelsea game, I think, just because it was a bit of a shootout, that final game of the season, whether it be Europa League, Champions League or Conference League. We knew we achieved something special, but if anything, I just think it shows how far the club's come in such a short space of time. To be disappointed with European football, I think just shows the culture of where the club's got to, and it comes right from the top, from the owner, and stems all the way down to us players.
So can we explore then when Nuno came in? Because there's very much before and after. When he joined, he'd got 1 win in 13 games. What do you feel he's brought to the club?
I think the biggest thing he's brought is stability. I feel like he walked through the door and he didn't want to make massive changes. I feel like he wanted to understand us as individuals and what would make us, firstly, survive in the Premier League and then ultimately thrive. I feel like it's backroom staff and all the staff, the amazing people at the club that have all, through time, just improved. And I feel like he knew what this group needed more than anyone, and he was the right person because he just brought that stable base, win, lose, draw. He's been exactly the same from the moment he walked through the door to the time we had chance to create history and potentially win an FA Cup or get Champions League football, and that is just what the club needed at the time.
Let's talk then about the moment he walked through the door. Before we talk about what happened on that day, I'd love to know where you were at as a group of players. Like, what does 1 win in 13 in the Premier League feel like?
Tough. I haven't really thought back, to be fair, but when I do, I feel like it was a changing room lacking self-belief individually. Collectively, we sort of lost our identity. And sometimes, through no fault of your own, you just need a change. Obviously, Cooper did absolutely incredible for me individually and us as a club to get us promoted. But, you just need a change sometimes. And Nuno was perfect with his experience and know-how, I think.
And can you explain how that happens, this idea of sort of a team losing its identity? Because, I used to spend my time hosting football matches and my pundits would often go, I think they've lost their identity. Or I watch the telly now and I see Roy Keane going, what's the identity? And I think it's confusing for football fans. So you're on the inside, you're not just a player at Forest, you're the captain. So when you talk about a team losing its identity, like what actually happens? And also, like, how does it feel?
Yeah, it's not good. I feel like you're only an individual in the team. But I think when you lose your identity, you can clearly see this season what we're all about. We're all about being together, nothing through the lines, being extremely hard to play against. You look at other teams, say a Liverpool under Klopp, they're high press, high energy from minute 1 to 90. They're going to run you into the ground, and I feel like that sort of culture and things like that is what made us this season so strong. And when you lose that little bit of belief in each other, I think more than anything, when you're out on the pitch, you sort of go into self-protection mode and sort of like, oh, as long as I'm playing well and I'm starting the next game, that's all that matters. Whereas I think when you really thrive in football is when, you know, you can do your bit, but you can also help your mate.
So what did Nuno do then when on day one he walked through the door and, you know, things were a little bit broken, right? It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. What was the first thing that he said? Can you remember?
I think he said, just be yourselves and let me work it out. And he also said this season. He said, I'm going to have to make some tough decisions via the team. If we want to achieve something great, I need to have a clear mind. Let me work it out for myself. And it sort of gave us that freedom to just try and be the best you can and impress him. And it took him a bit of time, but I think after a solid pre-season with us, it's turned out to be obviously fantastic.
And did he do, I mean, I was interested in the point that you said that both individually and collectively, that loss of confidence had happened. What did he do on an individual basis to make a difference, Ryan?
To be honest, I think he just knew what the club needed. I feel like he's very private and he's a real deep thinker. And I just feel like he was able to work out exactly what we needed at the time. I don't think he made too many massive changes, but he's a very complex man and trying to figure out what he's done is very difficult, but it seemed to have worked. And
but did he do any individual meetings with you to understand who you are when you were being yourself?
I'll be honest, I think looking back, I feel like we probably had too much information at that time.
Okay.
And I feel like he just wanted us to play with freedom. We had quite a young dressing room, a lot of new players, and he just, I think he stripped it back and there wasn't so many meetings. But then when he spoke, everybody was dialed in and like hung on every single word he said. And that's something I've never had before.
Yeah.
I've had managers who would speak a lot, give us so much detail, I want to improve. And he just said, no, just show me what you can do and I'll make the decision.
Here's the truth. Your body is like an engine and you need to keep it at its best day in, day out. I mean, think of it this way. You wouldn't fuel a racing car on cheap fuel. So why are you doing similar to your body? I take Heights Vitals. I take them every single day. They stop me feeling run down, sluggish. I used to have brain fog. Not anymore. 2 small capsules. These act as my premium grade fuel. I'm keeping with the racing metaphor. So Vitals are a blend of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, omega-3, all the Bs, basically everything you need to perform at your best. So if you're looking for something that keeps you in the driving seat with your nutrition, your brain and body health, then this is it. Taken by athletes, Olympians, and even some well-known racing drivers. This stuff works. So if you're looking to fuel right this year, go to heights.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order and start your journey today.
And what was the impact on you when, because again, that goes against the narrative, doesn't it? We think that because we've got the information, we've got the stats, the data, we need to give it you. But for you on the receiving end of that, what did that do?
Yeah, it was a shock for me, to be honest, because I'm a person who seeks data, seeks the self-improvement constantly. And to be honest, it was probably exactly what I needed at the time. You know, you're playing for the love of the game. You started because of that. And I think that's probably what he saw in the dressing room, players that, you know, had so many thoughts going through their head and they just needed to clear that out and do what you do best.
And did he have any special words for you as a captain? Anything he wanted you to be or to do?
I think he wanted me to be more of a voice. I think being the captain, since he's been there, I can give one example. His first game at home to Bournemouth, he didn't give us any heads up or anything. We were about to go out at the City Ground. I remember it really clearly. And he just came up to me, patted me on the chest and said, give a team talk to the team. And I remember, you've got a couple of minutes. And I remember thinking, I was someone who struggled with sort of public speaking. That wasn't a real strength of mine. And I sort of took myself off to the cubicle and I thought, wow, what am I going to say here? And I said a few things and it worked really well. I'm quite passionate about, I think I went on about saying the City ground and this is the start of a new era sort of thing. And from that day on, I remember thinking, I need to really be a voice. That's the captain he wants, to be a voice, to be a leader, to motivate. And yeah, with work from my psychologist and everything, I continue to do these team talks every time we play. And yeah, it's something that's sort of gone from a weakness in my game to, I'd like to think, a strength now.
And can I ask about the mental hurdle? Because when I sometimes speak to players on this, it's the idea that they go, but I'm just one of the lads, or who am I to speak out, or I'm not playing well and I don't feel I can tell others. So they create lots of barriers to almost make it difficult to speak out. Did you have to overcome anything like that?
Absolutely. That was, for some people it might sound ridiculous, but I'd say that the team talk and the speaking has probably been one of the toughest challenges in my career, because I knew Nuno was fantastic and I knew if I wanted to thrive as a captain under him, this was a non-negotiable for him. And I've spent hours and hours with the psychologist who was at Forest. I was actually playing golf with him yesterday, just talking through a few things about the team talks and how things have progressed and how confident I am with them. And now the lads laugh because they see me, because I write notes on my phone of like 3 or 4 bullet points I really want to get in for this team talk. And a few of the lads are like, what are you looking at on your phone? And they're seeing, it's your team talk, so they're not off the cuff sort of thing. So yeah, it's something I've massively worked on, but now I genuinely feel like I'm inspiring the lads to play better.
So how early do you start planning for the team talk that you'll deliver?
I think it just really depends. I think if I feel like, sometimes it really comes naturally to me now, and I'm like, yeah, I just know what I'm going to say here at the City ground. It's under the lights. It's just a really natural one. But other games where maybe I'm not as motivated to play for whatever reason, I might, speak with Emma, my partner, and rehearse it. Like sometimes I'll get her in a huddle in the living room and be like, so something I'm working at all the time and practicing.
And is Emma there going, yes, I'm ready to run through brick walls for you, Ryan?
Do you know what? Sometimes she's like, no, that's not going to work, that. And that's just what I need.
Isn't that brilliant though?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes having a voice so far detached from what's going on in the dressing room is the most valuable person to give you feedback on your team talks.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. She won't mind me saying she's pretty clueless with football. She's not into it. Family's not into it. And coming up, being brought up in a football obsessed family, my dad and brother, like football fanatics, absolutely love it. It's my dad's dream for me to be a footballer, and to have Emma's side of the family who are just not interested. They're happy for me. They're Ryan Yates fans, but they're just, not interested is perfect.
And I hope you've kept all the notes you've made over the season. Yeah,
with me and the guy, we've got them from, I think maybe the first one was Man United at home. 22.
So it was like on Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, when we won. Yeah, so I thought, that was last season. Yeah, and I thought, we won. That must have been from the team talk. But if I look back now, it was probably rubbish. But
and have you had feedback off your teammates about your effectiveness of them?
Not particularly, but I feel like you just know when you've done a good one, and I think before the Chelsea game, I did a really passionate one where I almost started tearing up. Which probably went almost too far, but okay. I couldn't hold my emotions in about what the game meant to everybody in the club.
What did you say?
I just said, we've just got an opportunity to change everybody's lives. And before the money, the contracts, everything, we've just got a moment that we might be able to remember for the rest of our lives. And that's more than anything. And then started tearing up. I think Nuno was like, right, lads, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so.
And I wonder how you felt then personally on the final whistle of that Chelsea game, because it's so clear already how much you love Nottingham Forest, how much you love the football club, and how sort of plugged in you are to what this football club means for that city and for those fans.
To be honest, I felt gutted. I was gutted because I think in football it's, you get opportunities and you just want to take them with both hands. and you just never know what's around the corner. The Premier League it's just, being in there, playing for 3 seasons, it's just ruthless. You look at Crystal Palace winning the Premier League and the FA Cup and finishing mid-table, and just, every team is got quality players throughout. And I feel like when you get that opportunity, you want to take it, because you never know when that's going to come around again.
And did you do any work with your psychologist after that to kind of get to a point where you're able to realise all the things you have achieved this season rather than the things that you've missed?
I haven't yet, to be honest. I went straight away on holiday. Didn't want to think about it, because I feel like in the season I'm just so obsessed with myself improving, doing the best I can. And then, it's really difficult, because loads of times on this podcast you guys speak about reflecting, like, oh, look at. But when you're in it, you're desperate to achieve more. You just want more and more, and it is trying to. You're right. I do need to find the time to reflect and be like, wow, what a season that was. But I don't feel like I'm ready yet. I feel like it could still happen. But it's something I need to work on for sure.
You know what I think is really nice, right, is for you to sit on here and be really vulnerable like this, to talk about the fact that you do have self-doubt when it comes to talking to the players, and that you did feel gutted at the end of a season where you still made it to Wembley and you still qualified for Europe and took Forest there for the first time in 30 years. And so many of the people that listen to this podcast, right, they don't listen to it because they're full of confidence and they believe they're high performers. They actually listen to it probably for the same reasons you do, that they still have self-doubt, they still have imposter syndrome, they still sort of walk what feels like quite a lonely road at times. But that's the very reason why they listen to high performance. Do all those things resonate?
Absolutely. Like I've already said, I've listened to the podcast, and you listen to people, the likes of Gordon Ramsay, all the footballers who've been on, listening to the Calvert-Lewin and Ollie Watkins one when I was away on holiday, and you just see that, everyone's just regular people with their own challenges, and seeking that self-improvement constantly is my biggest thing, and things like this obviously help massively.
And for those people listening to this who feel like you do but don't have the opportunity to work with a psychologist in the way that you do, what's your psychologist's name?
Chris Marshall.
So what's Chris done for you that you think is such great advice, or has been so valuable for you, that you'd like to share it with people listening?
I think the biggest thing is he has probably taught me to own myself, sort of own what I do best. I'd say everybody's so different. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like it's honing in on them strengths and making them super strengths, making them amazing, making them stand out. And don't worry about your weaknesses. You can work on them. Just nail the strengths. And one thing he said to me yesterday was, if I was to speak to someone close to me and ask them about you, and give them some sort of insight into me, he would have said that through adversity, it sort of gave me strength. So every time I've had a setback, or I've not been good at team talks, or any sort of adversity, I've always chase trying to get better and use that as motivation. Like, when I get through this, I'm going to be an even better person, instead of using that as an obstacle, just using that as a challenge to get through. And I feel like that's always sort of been the way my career has gone, with the loans and everything.
And how do you, in a world though where people are quick with opinions, especially for something like football, where it's not always reasoned, where they want to tell you what you can't do, they want to focus on what you don't have. How do you drown out that noise to then just keep tuned into your super strengths?
Yeah, it is tough, and something I struggled with when I was younger. Sort of when I broke into Forest first team, the first game I got man of the match, second game I scored. You're on Twitter, Ryan Yates, NFFC, you're like, I'm the dog's bollocks sort of thing. What a player I am. And then soon comes the negativity, and you're trapped into that cycle of looking, and it is so difficult with social media and stuff, something I'm in a really good place with now. But my thing to help with that is, my circle is so tight. Right. My family unit, I don't have a big circle, and my family are just so grounded. If I ever got a bit big time or, started being not me, they would quickly tell me. And especially my dad, he's really, really grounded. And
has he ever had reason to tell you?
Maybe a little bit growing up, yeah, or when I was, 13, 14, 15, just got my scholarship at Forest, I might have, been giving it big beans to the lads and stuff. And he said, all right, mate, you've not achieved anything now. So he has definitely done that when I was younger. And I think, the key for me is keeping my circle extremely tight. And like I learned from this show, you are a product of your environment. The people you hang around with the most is what you ultimately become.
So I'm not sure if you're going to like this question because you are self-deprecating, you are humble. But with all the work that you've done, if I said to you, okay then, be proud of your super strengths. What are Ryan Yates' super strengths that you're happy just to sit here and tell us?
My super strengths are, I would probably say I'm the hardest working in the room. I feel like not nobody, but people, in Forest, and nobody works as hard as me. Or if someone is working harder than me, it makes me motivated to work harder. I feel like once I've got my eye on something, I'll achieve it. I'll do everything I can. I'll seek different avenues of how I could achieve that goal. And I'm really focused with that.
Well, I think they're two very powerful ones. I'd love to talk about the goal setting and the goal achieving. Again, it's something that it's so valuable for other people. Take us to a moment in time where you've set yourself a goal and tell us about the work that you did to make that goal a reality.
Ooh, okay. The one that sprang straight to mind was I want to play in the Premier League. So I would say, I think we were doing, I must have been 15, 16 during my scholarship. And they came round like, what do you want to achieve? Like that sort of stuff. And I was like, I want to play in the Premier League. And everyone was like, oh, that's funny. They were sort of like, I want to play for Forest. And
who were the people asking these questions?
I think it was just our tutor,
right,
who was doing our BTEC course.
So this is when you're a football apprentice, but you still have to do school and you have to do your lessons.
Yes.
And they've asked, what's your biggest ambition? You
Yes.
said play in the Premier League. And who's laughed? The other players in the room?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I don't know where, maybe I do know where I got it from, but I just had this drive that I didn't really, from a young age, I didn't really care what people thought, as in my teammates. I was always the busy one. God, he's so busy he is. And I thrived off that. Every time people said that, I was like, yeah, that's me.
And for those that don't know the football vernacular of busy, explain that.
Just like always wanting to do more, be the best, sort of teacher's pet, that sort of thing is busy.
Isn't it funny that is seen as a negative in among young footballers, wanting to do extra?
Yeah.
It's like, there's a reason why you're now in the Premier League.
But can I just stop you there? You said, I don't know where I got it. And then you went, actually, I do know where I got it from. Where?
I'm pretty sure it's my mum in the family. And so when I went on loan, I was on loan at Notts County in League Two. And I was playing really well. We were top of the league. Kevin Nolan was the manager, ex-Premier League midfielder, loved me. It was amazing. I lived in my apartment, so I was on loan from Forest. Just training ground was 10 minutes away. It was perfect. Was doing amazing. And then Christmas came, and Scunthorpe in League One, they were fighting for promotion in League One, came in for me. And all the family basically were like, you can't go there. We're loving it. Notts County, it's so low. It's great. It's perfect. You're the best player. Their manager was calling me, and I was in Asda's, and I was like, I can't pick this up yet. Rang my mum and explained, because she's not really into football too much. She understands, and I said, Scunthorpe want me, and she was like, well, you've got to go. She said, what's your, that's awful mentality. You have to go, and do you want to play in the Premier League? You told me you want to play for England. And at that moment was sort of a massive crossroads in my life, really, to, do I want to be comfortable? Because you go to League One, you might be sat on the bench, you might not play. And I was for a while, and I was thinking, oh no, what have I done? But ultimately that decision has sort of took me on a path of just go for it. And I think my mum is, even now, she just understands me. She obviously brought me up, and she's just the one that in a game, if my body language is not me, she's like, she doesn't know what happened with the game, but she said, you just weren't there today. And that hits deeper than anything. She just understands me and gives me that drive. And if I ring up, she's like, you're in a bad mood. Because she just understands I'm really bubbly all the time. And she's like, come on, liven up, bring your best. And yeah, nothing to do with football, just totally body language. And yeah.
Now, I interrupted you. You were telling us about thank you for sharing that, about where it comes from. But go back and tell us about the tutor asking, what do you want to do? You answer.
Oh, the Premier League, everyone's sort of laughing, but I just remember the feeling of, no, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then you hold yourself accountable of, I've got to do it now. And it's sort of that inner pressure, that extra little bit of, if you are, of whatever you tell yourself you are, and I really believe in that. If you tell yourself every day, I'm going to play in the Premier League, you'll end up doing behaviours that are going to take you that direction. And this has also come from my mum's sister. She, when I was really young, she got like a pin board, and she said, go print off Cristiano Ronaldo's body and put your passport photo, like your little head at the top of it. Go get a big house, print it, put it on the board, big stack of money, bro, print it, put it on the board. And it's just that from a young age, I've just had this like backing, I don't know what the word is, but like just that feeling like everyone's behind me, you can do it.
You've got some brilliant, powerful women in your life.
Yeah,
isn't that incredible?
Yeah. I've never really thought, but it has been the women that have really given me that. I think that's just self-belief. If you can do it, why not?
So what was, like, I'm interested there that you said that the bit, so I'm telling myself every day I'm going to be a Premier League footballer. What were the behaviours that you were doing then that was different from the guys that said, I just want to be a footballer?
I would just say trying to be better, especially younger. It's very dog eat dog in academies, and it's all about that next contract. And I just think holding myself accountable has just made me really want it and never lose sight of what it takes. And I feel like I would just go into detail of what it takes. So I need to get the sleep, but what goes into getting good sleep? Like, do I need to speak to a nutritionist? It's all well and good, but I want to be I want to eat the best. Like I went for a stage of growing up that I wanted to make it so bad, like I wouldn't eat anything bad. And now looking back, I'm like, that wasn't healthy. That's not good long term, And I got like so obsessed where when I went on my first loan to Barrow, driving sort of 2 hours to training and stuff, I'd sort of take some couscous and a bag of spinach and I'd boil the kettle in the hotel room. And because I just didn't want to eat out, all the lads were eating out, and I was like, I can't, that's not going to make me play in the Premier League. Even if I didn't think it, that was my subconscious at the time. I'm not going to play for Nottingham Forest if, the lads would go to an Italian on a Friday, the lads at Barrow, and they might have a Peroni with it or whatever, and I'm just like, what's going on here?
Right.
I might have a slice of garlic bread, but I can't.
You're talking about being obsessive, right? I mean, that's really what that is. If you don't eat a single, like, how long did you go for not eating anything?
I might have had a little bit, but I'd regret it. I think, that's going to stop. And it's not good. It's not healthy. But I just was that obsessed at the time of making it that I couldn't. Say if I'd have some chocolate or have too much chocolate, I think I'm not going to train well Monday morning. Whereas now I'm like, I've got that confidence. I'll have a chocolate. I'll be fine.
And have you stopped to take a moment to tell yourself, not only have you made it as a Premier League player, you've captained a Premier League team to the greatest season they've had in decades?
No. Because I just can't, at the minute, I feel like I've got more to achieve. So I don't really want to think about it. And football is so cutthroat. You've seen the signings the club have made over the years, hundreds of players. And yeah, I feel like if you take your eye off the ball, then there's only one way, and that's down in football. And I wanna be going up. I feel like I've got so much to achieve. So
this is an interesting phase then in your career, because from what I know about you and of you, and we've only met for the first time today and exchanged a few messages, I would imagine that there's a part of your brain not happy with the amount of games you played last season or started last season.
Absolutely, yeah.
How did you process that?
It's just another challenge. It's just one thing I've spoke with Chris, psychologist, about as well, is when I was younger, I'd always look to blame other people. I remember my youth team coach, Jack Lester, who had a massive influence on my career and my mentality. Really, I think we lost 3-0 to Charlton or something, an academy game and everything. And I didn't play well, and he just brought up in front of the whole group. He said, "You're always blaming other people." And I just remember going back to the digs, sulking a little bit and thinking, but knowing he's right. And I feel like that's something I've learned. And if I'm not starting enough games, that's my problem. I feel like that's something, you know, for other people to take away, is if you can look at yourself in the mirror first before anything else, that is so important.
And did you go and speak to the manager and ask him?
Yeah, I did. I had some really good conversations with him. But ultimately, it's down to you to work it out exactly, because football's, you have to play with freedom. You can't be too rigid. And I feel like I've done that before, where I've tried to do exactly what the manager wants, and it totally takes away from what you bring, your personality on the pitch, and that is a massive thing for me, is bringing personality. So
when you went to, you know, how many games did you not start when you thought, right, I'm going to go and have a chat with the manager?
I don't think it was a certain amount of games. I just think it was just the right time. Right. I think with Nuno, you have to pick and choose when you go and speak to him. And luckily, we had a good chat, so hopefully it was the right time and everything was good.
So what did you say?
Basically, just, you know, what do I need to do to play? I'm desperate to play. I'm desperate to succeed for the club. Obviously, a few things I can't go into, but just you know, this is what I bring. What more do you want from me? And totally like, what can I do to improve?
And his answer was
more.
Really?
No, it wasn't. It was loads of different things.
Yeah. And I fully appreciate, obviously, some of those are out of your control, and also not the sort of things you necessarily want to discuss in a public forum. I'm interested in the things, though, where he actually did say, well, you could try this and this, and what they were, and whether you did, and whether you felt they made a difference.
I wouldn't say anything stands out, to be honest,
right.
But I think you just, and I should do it more. I always regret, there's some regrets I had earlier in my career where I haven't gone and seen a manager. You know, earlier I was like, why don't I just go see him? Yeah. You know, but when you're in there day to day, you're like, oh, he's the manager. You can't speak to him. But I think you just come away from it with a clearer head. I don't think there's been many times I've gone and seen a manager and thought, oh, that didn't go down well.
You'd like to be a manager one day, I reckon.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. It seems quite stressful. But
it's very stressful. But would you want players to come to you and say, what can I do for you?
Yeah, I would, to be fair, yeah.
And honestly, and you'll feel this as well, having spent years around former Premier League footballers and some of the best players that played in the league, and I would say to them, Alfred, did you go and see the manager? They go, I wouldn't go and see the manager.
Yeah.
If he's not playing me, that's up to him. But surely this is the right approach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to be. I feel like just talking in general is good. I feel like you've got to be not a very nice person if you go about it in the right way, and be like anyone at any job with a boss, you know, especially if you're someone who really wants to achieve. And I feel like if I've gone home and sat and thought about it, and then I've gone home again and thought about it, and I keep going home and thinking, you just got to get it off your chest. And yeah, it seems to end up all right.
But there's a skill round as well about learning to go and ask for feedback. You spoke about the Sarah Davies episode, resonated with you. How do you go about creating an environment where people can give you feedback that you can take on board?
I think you need the right people, and we certainly have that at Forest. Like, the culture's changed massively, especially this season. The stability, and I'd probably say good people, and just people who are themselves. I feel like if people aren't putting on a front and they're just being totally themselves and they're really friendly, which today walking in, everyone was so friendly, just made me feel so settled. I feel like I could just totally be myself. And I've definitely had dressing rooms that haven't been like that.
Right.
And I would say, yeah, everyone, you know, new players, even if it's the smallest of things, it might be a big thing to somebody. And yeah, just having that. If you're just yourself, then I feel like you then become quite approachable.
So what are the behaviours that we would see if we walked into the training ground at Forest now?
Now I feel like you walk in the dressing room and there's so many different characters. I could go through the dressing room.
Go on, give us some.
Just one that springs to mind is like an Ola Aina, incredible player, always on his Snapchat, always on Instagram, but he never goes over that edge of it becoming unprofessional. Yeah. And if that makes him thrive, which it clearly does, because he's had an incredible season, then that's absolutely fine. But when it's time to work, I feel like the group at Forest now is extremely driven, not only to improve as an individual and make their own careers excel, but for the team. And I feel like until this season that hasn't quite happened. And that comes from the investment from the owner, the correct recruitment, and ultimately having staff who are all driven to one common goal, and that's to improve the club. I
want to talk then about this winning mentality. I'd like to talk about the Liverpool game early on in the season. Fourth game of the season?
It was my first start, and I'm not sure. 3 or 4 games in, I think it might have been.
As soon as I mention that game, there's a big smile creeps across your face. Where does your brain take you to?
It just takes me to when the whistle went, and just that feeling back in the dressing room where we thought, we're pretty good, lads. Like we've got a right chance. Hope. Like I don't think we're going to be near the bottom of the league this year, because really, after coming from 2 years of being near the bottom of the league, just surviving. I remember the anxiety of when we got the points deduction, and it's just looking over your shoulder. It's really tough, more mentally than anything. And just after that win, we just thought we've got a good chance, lads, to have a really good season.
How significant was it to beat that team, who obviously went on to win the Premier League so early on?
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah, it was really big. Just obviously, it was just such a nice day. Callum scored a fantastic goal, his trademark, and Nuno actually made a tactical tweak for that game. He thought we're going to overload the midfield because they are fantastic, Liverpool, in the middle of the pitch, and we played 5 midfielders, and I think Callum, Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Elanga were probably a bit disappointed not to play 2 standout players in our season. But I feel like they came on. Anthony assisted Callum, who scored an incredible goal. Obviously, the away fans, the Forest fans were absolutely buzzing after, I don't know, maybe 50 years of beating Liverpool. And yeah, it just grew that sense of a belief in the manager. The supporters believed in us more. We just believed in ourselves as players and staff. And yeah, it was a significant game for sure.
And when you talk about that sense of belief in manager, like he made a big tactical change and you ended up beating Liverpool. So what does that then do for you as players when it comes to him making decisions going forwards?
You just have more trust. If you get put to the bench, or you think, no, this is right for the team. And I can honestly say, as a footballer, being on the bench many times, sometimes you sat on the bench thinking, this is awful for me, this is. But when it's for the greater good, and when you've got that amazing team environment, you'll always want to look after number one. That's why I am where I am today, and why footballers are where they are, because they just want themselves to do well ultimately. But when there is that amazing dressing room and that feeling, that you're going to be used for the greater good of the team and you could achieve something, it really does take the edge off that.
And one of the phrases that we sometimes use on here, Ryan, is that confidence is built on evidence. That for you to have the confidence that you're going to have a good season, you need the evidence that the Liverpool win gives you. Did you do anything after that game to remind yourself of what you'd done well, the trademarks, the identity of a team that you were going to take through the rest of the year?
I don't think there was anything we didn't debrief. We don't really debrief games under Nuno, which we've always done. I've always done with managers.
Why do you think that is?
I think he does it through the training, through the week. He will put practices on, and he will get us all round before our first training session back. He'll speak to us all. Maybe a couple of things, but them couple of things really stay with you. Instead of giving too much information and he obviously sees that works with the team.
So did he come and say anything after that Liverpool win?
No, he's never too high, never too low, Nuno. I've never known anyone like that, who is so, he will show passion at the right times and be disappointed, but ultimately day to day he's very, very consistent, and that is just what we need with so many big characters in the club, and that's what is needed.
Because I think one of the standout stories of your season is the teams that you took points off. You took points off Liverpool, you took points off Chelsea, you took points off Man United, you took points off Villa, you took points off Man City, you took points off Arsenal. Would you take us into what happens in the build-up to those biggest games to prepare you all mentally? Or again, are you saying that Nuno treats that game like you're playing Southampton at home?
So it's just made me think of something, actually. When I went to speak to Nuno, I said to him, I think we might have had a really big game in my head. I think we might have been playing Liverpool at home, maybe. And I went to him, I said, look, this is a game for me. This is where I thrive. You know, it's at home. I can bring the energy to the crowd. And he said, Ryan, every game is massive. He said, we've got Brentford, somebody else coming up after. He said, they are just as important to me. And I remember thinking, yeah, you're right. It is just 3 points. And he has had that mentality and has never come away from that mentality since he's been here. And I feel like that has kept us very on a just a level which is really good.
So would that prevent you from being overawed by Man City at the City Ground?
Yeah, probably. Just like the Chelsea game, he said it is a huge game, but we have a process. You know how we play. This is how we're going to do it. And he would then go into detail about, before the game, how we're going to play, how we're going to attack them and through the week. But, this is just another game that we stick to our processes.
So when you see a manager being so consistent like that, and then you see the scenes occasionally where he's dancing after a win, or the moments where he said he'll raise the emotion.
Yeah.
Can you give us any examples of where he does that and the impact it has?
I can't think of a specific example, but he just now and again, I've got an example. So pre-season, we went away to Spain, pre-season tour. We'd been away for 5 or 6 days. We went for a team meal. The new lads would do their initiations and stuff.
Which is what?
Just singing. So they'd sing on the stuff, and it got a bit lively. There was a few glasses of wine, and we were training every single day. So
were you drinking?
I had a glass of wine, I'll be honest. I did have
relaxed in your old age.
And it was a really good night. All the staff were there, and it was great. And we just wanted to stay for another hour or two, and we were going to go back at, I don't know, say 11 o'clock, and the lads were enjoying themselves. And we went up to Nuno, and a few of us, and we're like, "Oh, Gaffer, can we stay for another hour?" And he said, "Yeah, go for it. We're off, but just make sure you're back." I can't remember exactly what he said, but I just remember that feeling of like, he does have that personal side. He understands what we need, and I feel like that night and other nights we've had similar was sort of the making of us. You need that, where lads have had a drink or starting to really get to know each other and open up to each other about things.
Do you feel you know the manager? Because I think he's very, very closed off when he does his media work, isn't he?
Yeah, very, but I don't. I'll be honest, I don't. I think he really keeps his cards close to his chest, and if that's the way he wants to do it, then I fully respect that, and he's obviously done fantastic for us so far.
But again, it's a great learning for people listening to this, that they think, to be a great leader, you have to tell everyone everything, you have to expose yourself, you have to be vulnerable and open all the time. But actually, that's not necessarily always the case, right?
I agree, and like I've learned that sometimes it's not about you; it's about the people around you. He probably understands that his strengths. There is other people, his staff have strengths that are better for his. His assistant manager is fantastic. He really speaks to a lot of us. Rui, he's been brilliant. If I have a question about something, and I'll probably go to him, which may lead back to the manager, but and he has his own psychologist who's totally helped me in a different way, see me think make me see things differently.
So Nuno has his own psychologist that works with him and his coaching team.
Yeah, and it's totally different to the way, for example, Chris worked when he was at the club. Yeah. But just to make you look differently. And
can you explain how they've helped you see things differently?
I think it was towards the back end of last season when we were sort of fighting relegation. I was on the bench against, I think, Aston Villa, and I just said to Julio, his English is not the best, so he'd sort of do the Google Translate on the phone and stuff. I said, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And he just was talking to me about how I got too emotional about things. So he thought when I made a mistake, I'd think about it. So, and that was something I hadn't really picked up.
Yeah.
And he was saying I need to stay. If I go out of the sort of the flow state, it's how quickly you go back into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, after speaking to him a couple of times, he really helped me. And then I ended up having a game. So he said to me, "You'll have a game you'll have a few moments in games where you just won't know the time. You'll just float through the game. You'll just be flowing. Things will be going well. You won't even be thinking about your actions. You just do it." And he always says action after action all the time. The lads sort of take the mick of it. He just says action after action, after action, action. Don't worry about anything else. Do your action. And then there's another action straight away. You haven't got there's no time between the two.
Have you had a game like that?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was against, but the game was just done. And I remember thinking, wow, like I wasn't thinking about anything else other than every pass, where I need to be. There was no like, oh, look at the atmosphere, or the singing the song and Muller King Tyre at the City. I was just totally, I can't remember who it's against, but I was just thinking, wow. And I've never actually had another game like that.
Right.
Maybe I need to speak with him again because.
Well, can you remember what you were doing that created the environment for you to get into that state?
I was just so focused on the task at hand. I'd love to actually find which game it was, and just to see if I played well or not. Maybe
if you watch it back and you played shit. I don't remember that. Us
of like when we were lucky enough to sit down with Dan Carter, the rugby union player. He spoke about how he'd worked with a guy called Kerry Evans that got him in the same state, didn't he? And he had little triggers, like if he made a mistake, he'd hit his leg, so his mind wasn't going into the future of, oh, it's not my day, or replaying the mistake. He was like, no, we're hitting that like I'm in the moment, just action after action.
You'd love our conversation with Dan Carter if you haven't listened to them.
Okay, I might have done.
He's a mentality monster. He breaks his day down into like the exact minute and what's involved in that day, every day of the week throughout his entire career.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Okay.
And then that leads me actually onto the question, like you had talented players at Forest last season.
Mm-hmm.
There are teams that have had a really awful season this year. Man United and Spurs are two great examples. They have got some brilliant players in their squads, right? But they've struggled. You've had an amazing season. So what percentage or what amount of the Forest success this season do you think is down to getting things right mentally rather than physically?
A percentage? I'd say 90%. I remember Thomas Frank coming on here and speaking about the culture and saying culture wins over everything. And I remember listening and thinking, maybe, yeah. And then this season, I agree.
Right.
I feel like if you get the right people, it's worth more than the talent and everything. If you've got the talent, you need the talent, but you're not at Nottingham Forest if you're not a great player.
Yeah.
And if you've got people behind you, ready to fight for you, ready to do everything, then I feel like the mental side is massive.
Who are the cultural architects at Nottingham Forest, apart from yourself, the players that lead the team?
I honestly think there's loads though this season in the team. I feel like I actually don't want to name any individuals. I just feel like everyone has bought into the process, and I feel like people turn to me because I've been at the club so long. But really, I've taken so many things from different players, and the likes of Calla and Ola, do things differently to me in terms of like their social media and stuff. A few years ago, I'd think you can't do that to be successful, and I'd sort of shut that off. But I feel like they've shown me you can be so open and you can still perform at an elite level, be super professional, and be a great teammate with all that. And I feel like that's opened my eyes, and they are cultural architects in their own right.
It's so interesting because we love the phrase on this show, hold your beliefs lightly, right? You know, people often think the only way is this way. And for a long time, it sounded like in your life, you thought the only way was to take my couscous to the lower league football matches that I was playing in rather than going out for an Italian. The only way was never to break the code I'd written for myself about eating healthily. The only way is to be the hardest player in the room. And it almost feels like if Nuno's brought anything to your game, it's this understanding that football is a collection of individuals who aren't all doing the same thing, but if they all move in the same direction, look what can be achieved.
Exactly.
Can I ask you about the owner?
Yeah.
Because we've spoken about Nuno being quite emotionally stable.
Yeah.
And the owner, see, there are instances where you've seen his emotion, whether it's on the field after the injury or whether it's sort of some of the pronouncements on Twitter about refereeing decisions. What's your experience of him been like?
So ever since he bought the club, he just bought a passion and a drive. We were mid-table championship. We could have potentially got into the playoffs. I think I might have just made my championship debut.
Yeah.
So I was just buzzing to have made my debut. And he got us all on a Zoom call, the team at the time. And he was saying, come on, guys. Like, he was motivating us. This was the owner.
Right.
When he just, because he thought, come on, we can get to the Premier League. And he was really trying to motivate us. And I just remember as a young lad coming away thinking, like, wow, that's the owner of the football club. And I thought that might have been quite normal. I was really inexperienced. And then year on year, he's obviously invested so much that the level of the training ground now from if you'd have came 5 or 6 years ago is like a totally different place.
Right.
So obviously going to the Premier League has allowed that to happen. But just on the owner, he's just so passionate. And, when you wear your heart on your sleeve like that, you are going to go over the edge sometimes. But for me personally, I love that. I love that he brings that passion. And I feel like that's potentially a strong reason why we're doing so well.
Because when we spoke to Steve Parish, the Crystal Palace chairman, he told us a story that when he first took over that role, he'd spoke to the manager, Dougie Freeman, and he said, should I come down to the dressing room? And Dougie Freeman had said, it doesn't really matter, but what you've got to understand is if you come down when we win, you've got to come down when you lose as well. So it's not whether you come down, it's that whatever you agree, you're going to do it week after week consistently. Is he consistent then? Do you see, like we've seen the footage of him in the tunnel shaking hands?
Yeah. No, not really. I think he's not consistent with it, but I feel like it's more powerful sometimes. Sometimes he sees us before the warm-up. Sometimes you'll see us after a win. He's pulled me into his office. He has, just around the corner from the dressing room to talk about things after a loss. And
what sort of things does he want to know if the team have lost?
He just wants that personal feeling. I feel like I've sort of probably the only person who's still there from when he bought the club. And he just wants to know we're doing everything. I feel like that's probably his biggest thing. He wants to know that I'm driving the team and the team are doing well. And the passion to succeed is like I've never seen anything like it before. And I love that side of the game in general. When people are extremely passionate about anything, I sort of buzz off it, I feed off it, and you could take it as pressure, but I think it's just that want to succeed is amazing. And
does he give advice as well as ask questions?
No, I don't think so. Right. I think he doesn't really give advice on how to do things better. I think he just tries to transfer his energy onto us, and I sort of love it to be honest.
I suppose the biggest moment with him this season was when he came on the pitch after Tayo Awoniyi got badly injured in that game. Did you see what was going on and wonder what was happening at that point?
No, not a clue. I honestly, I try and stay off my phone I might just see if my family are where they are and stuff, but I really try and detach, and because you're quite emotional, win, lose or draw after a game, and nothing. I was just like, sort of, how's Taiwo? And at the time, we didn't honestly think he was too bad, and we were just disappointed with the outcome of the game. And then you go home, and then you realise the next day from people talking and stuff that it was obviously really bad, and just buzzing that he was able to come through, and I'm sure he's going to make a strong recovery and come back better than ever.
So when did you first hear that it was more serious than just going off with a bit of a knock?
I think the next day, because he went home and he was in some discomfort, but he went home and then he was rushed to hospital, and then it was a little bit scary, and obviously it came out that he was in a coma and stuff, and then everyone gets really scared. But we obviously had the information that, you know, he's going for an operation, everything, touch wood, should be fine.
And have you seen him since?
Yeah, he actually came to the dressing room before Chelsea, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's incredible!" Everyone was absolutely buzzing for him. He came out onto the pitch of the City Ground, got an ovation, and yeah, someone who, again, wears their heart on their sleeve, and he's been there since, I think he was the first signing, one of the first signings from when we got promoted to the Premier League. So yeah, I've got a special attachment with Taiwo.
And as someone who has such a broad perspective of life, not just football, what did that moment do in terms of putting things into perspective for you?
Yeah, it does. You know what? That was probably one of the few moments I have where you think, you know what, football isn't everything. This is Taiwo's life on the line. You know, we want to achieve European football and etc. But you know, he is an incredible guy around the dressing room, loved by everybody. And you know, I actually saw, as I was walking to my car after the game, I saw his brother, and he said, "How's Taiwo?" He didn't know, and I remember the look on his face. He just looked so, you know, like worried and upset. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's, you know, this is more than football. And that was all we were really thinking about, and until his operation was successful.
And what did you feel was the job of the captain in that situation when there was rumour, conversation, fear, doubt about the fate of Taiwo?
I think just listen to the facts and let the professionals do their job. You know, I feel like the medical team at Forest are incredible. They've got such a tight-knit unit there now, and I feel like there hasn't been massive chop and change again with that part of the club, and that is so important. Our injury record this year has been amazing. We've had so many injuries the past few seasons, and yeah, credit to them for that. So
look, we sit here now, it's the summer. All the Premier League teams will invest, I guess, around this time. How do you feel about the fact that Forest will go again and will spend more money? How does that sit mentally for you? Because there's constant pressure to perform. Are you looking at your phone? Are you watching the news? Are you wondering who's coming in? Are you listening to the rumours?
So when I was younger, I'd be like, what's going on? You know, I'd even say first year in the Premier League, the players we were signing, I'm thinking, God, they signed another midfielder. And now I'm like, go for it. It's going to make me better. You know, I've sort of tried to change that mindset of, no, if they're coming in and they're a top player, well, I'm going to play. That means I'm a top player. And sort of change that sort of see it as a challenge. As I spoke with Chris, and I always bring up, it's like, see that adversity, if you like, as you can overcome that. And when you do overcome that, that's going to be amazing. And when I'm excited about something, like anything, when I'm excited and buzzing, I feel like I can change that anxiety. As you said, it's like quite closely linked, the anxiety and the excitement. Yep. And if I can go more excitement and be excited to play or excited about the outcome of something, then I'll bring my best.
Do you get anxiety?
Absolutely, yeah. Not on a big scale, but definitely with certain things. Like, you know, I had to prep for this, and what you might ask me, and different things, and it's trying to for me, it's sort of channeling that anxiety and what works for me. So like planning was a huge one for me, making sure I'm planned, and like it could be anything random, like making sure I know what I'm going to wear tomorrow. Just reduces that anxiety just a little bit. Yeah. And I write notes all the time.
About what?
Just anything. Like if I need to do the gas meter, I need to check it and submit it. It's like check it. And then I try to clear my brain of things so I can actually focus on what's really important to me.
Because we've spoken a lot in this conversation, and it's been fascinating about the mental side of football. And for you to talk in this way, I think is so powerful. But I'd love to get a bit more about the physical demands of a life that you live. Like, what are the daily behaviours from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to bed that actually are also the reason why you're sitting here as the captain of a Premier League team that's just qualified for European football?
I feel like, I think at most levels of football, especially the higher end, physically, you need to be maximising what you've got. You know, everyone's different. I'm not the fastest sprinter. If anything, I'd probably say I'm towards the bottom end of that. But I know that. But I know my strength is I can sort of run all day. I can run box to box forever, and I try and make that my super strength. And then I guess it's sort of channeling, well, what do I need to be at my best? And one thing I always say to like my family and everybody's, make sleep your number one. I think you had a sleep guy on here, a woman on here, and they spoke about it. Yeah. And after that, I got an air conditioning unit in my room. I moved rooms, so we sleep, me and Emma, in a small room towards the back of the house, because we're kind of near a road, so it needs to be quiet. So we're away as far as we can. So we track the temperature. There's barely anything in this room. It's just plain.
Phones, TV? No
TV. Phones at the other side of the room, because then when the alarm goes off, you get up. It's not like snooze. Blackout curtains. I used to wear the glasses, and I think that was too much. The caffeine, and I always say, like, make sleep the foundation of your life.
Okay, so if sleep is number one in this sort of this physical pyramid of being a Premier League footballer, sleep's at the top. Yeah. What's next?
Nutrition. So I go sleep, nutrition.
Take us into nutrition. What does a day look like for you? And how deeply focused are you on getting your nutrition right?
Very, but not probably, you know, we've got a nutritionist at Forest, and I'm in such a fortunate position that everything's on a plate for you at Forest. They tell you what to eat, when to eat. You can take dinner home. You can. So yeah, I think the average. I could go through my diet, but you could probably guess what it is.
Go on.
Well, this morning, eggs and avocado on toast with a few berries. Lunch, just to, I don't know, it could just be chicken, rice and broccoli. I do like a few coffees spread throughout that, but sort of 2 o'clock it's done because of the sleep.
So no coffee after 2?
No coffee after 2.
And are you meal prepping? Are you ever just grabbing sandwiches from newsagents and...
You know what? During this period, I would, to be fair.
Right.
Just because I'm on holiday and I want to switch off and I don't want to be relentless, but it makes you feel good, doesn't it? You know, when you eat well and you sleep well. But for me, when I sleep well, I'll make the right decision. So for me, sleep helps with the decision making. So that's why I'm like, sleep is... But I'd even say if it was sleep, then something below it. It's sort of my mindset with it all. But you can't have the mindset without the sleep. So that's why I'm like, guys, move your phones, don't be scrolling. Like,
what time are you getting to bed and getting up?
Oh, so that's really consistent. So that's sort of like in bed 10, sleep for 10:30, wake up 8:30. That's like pretty routine.
10 hours a night.
But when
I can dream of it.
You know, when I had the whoop, so I usually wear a whoop and stuff. Yeah. I wear a whoop every night to sleep. This is like the obsession, you know. I'm like, whoop, I need to. And I'd look to the sleep, and then I'd be waking up in the night, and it's obviously from the caffeine and just having that relentless self-improvement of why am I waking up so much, and like really getting into the detail.
And what about your relationship with Emma? You said you've been with her for 13 years. She's been on this adventure with you. Tell us a little bit about that relationship. What does she offer you that you feel is so special?
I think it's just so strong, and it's helped me with my career so much with Emma because, as I said, I'm so intense. And when I come home, it's sort of like I could be thinking, oh, you know, Nuno saying I'm not playing tomorrow. But as soon as I walk through that door, there's no questions with football. It's like, if you need to take the bins out, and it's like, oh, right, okay, yeah, take the bins out. Or have you got your mum a Mother's Day card? And it's been like that forever, and will continue to be like that. And it sort of makes me think, oh yeah, I need to. It makes me stop thinking in that process of.
Right. So she kind of grounds you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely.
And has there been a moment or a piece of advice she's offered you that has been invaluable?
She does actually say some things where I think that's so true. It's probably just to, you know, if I sometimes ask her questions, might be about team talks or might be about something. And sometimes she'll just say like, well, just be yourself. Like, why, you know, don't try and be this. And like, probably coming on this podcast, she's like, Ryan, you love talking about football. You know, don't overthink it. Just go with it. You're a great talker, you know, or I'd be planning too much and then you come a bit robotic, and just like the little like, you're right. And I was like, yeah, whatever.
I think it's brilliant. Is there anyone else you'd like to call out apart from those amazing women in your life that have been great for you? I mean, there was a period where you had Roy Keane as an assistant at Forest, wasn't there?
Yeah.
How was that?
That was so Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane gave me my debut at Forest. They, as a young lad, wasn't sure whether I was going to go out on loan. I was desperate to go out on loan because I sort of had the first 6 months of that season not doing anything under Aitor Karanka, and almost went to Portsmouth, went down and watched Portsmouth. I thought, yeah, this looks amazing, passionate fan base, and then they had me training with the first team and stuff, and they put me right back, left back, centre back, just wherever I'd fit in. And I remember Martin and Roy were just like, yeah, I love your attitude, and I think they saw that, and we weren't doing so well at the time. We were doing okay, and he thought he just stuck me in at Brentford at home and got man of the match, and yeah, it just took off from there.
What did you learn from Roy?
You know what? He was very quiet at Forest, but he just had a ruthless streak in him where you just didn't want to cross him. There's a couple of occasions where, so we'd do like mini games and stuff, and the losing team would have to do press ups, and I was luckily on the winning team, so I didn't have to do the press ups. So like, right, 20 press ups, fine. Came in the next day, we all walked out for training. Roy just had a look on his face and just looked super pissed off, basically, right? And we were all, wasn't talking to anybody. Everyone came round, and he started reading out names. He was like, you lot, you didn't do the press-ups. You only did. So he's like, Pele, you did da-da-da-da. And we were all like, oh my God, he's looked back at the footage and seen how many press-ups people were doing. And I can't remember, but probably, yeah.
So he said these 20 press-ups.
Brilliant.
After training, watched the footage and counted how many press-ups each player's done.
And I was just
and what
buzzing.
Was the punishment?
I don't know. I don't know. But he was so ruthless. Him and Martin were just super, super ruthless, which suited me because I was.
So was he about tiny details? I don't know, like turning up on time and eating.
Oh yeah, that stuff was an absolute non-negotiable. It was just, yeah. I remember actually they just signed, and I used to go for naps every afternoon, and I must have not set my alarm or something, and I've woke up, and the fear that, yeah, because I obviously not even made an appearance for them, and I was thinking, and luckily I had time to get in, and I just remember thinking that was my Forest career right there in that moment. Yeah.
So could I speak to you about like the experiences of going to Barrow and teams like that on loan? Because it's often felt that when you go from a club like Forest to a team like Barrow, that you'll get the move because of your reputation.
Yeah.
But and then it's on you, your attitude to go into maybe like some of these footballing backwaters. How did you process that to get the most out of the experience?
Yeah, you know what, so they were looking for a loan move for me. I'd just become a first year pro, but I'd played 23s games and stuff. And my agent was upstairs in my apartment in Nottingham, and he said, we've got a loan move for you. We've got Barrow in the National League. And I was quite humble. And I genuinely was like, I'll be honest, I haven't actually heard of them. Like, are they a local team? And he's like, no, they're about 4 hours away.
Down the longest corridor.
But don't worry, you're training in Manchester, which is only 2 hours away. And I was sort of like, well, is that sort of my only option? And he said, yeah, that's all you've got. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's go for it. And I went up with one of the lads who commuted from Nottingham, which was really helpful. And I was in my we had this like fluorescent purple training kit, Forest training kit, tracksuit bottoms and all sorts. And I turn up at the training ground, which was basically a college with a gym. And Paul Cox, the manager, who was amazing for me at the time. Just the perfect guy who I needed at the time. Was in the car park, said, "Ryan, nice to meet you." He was like, "You won't be training in that, mate. Like the lads will hammer you if you're training in that." I've got a spare kit in the back of my car. So he gets out his double XL Giacomo t-shirt and shorts, and I'm sort of like, walking into the gym, and it's right down there, and just humbled me straight away.
And why was he the right man for you?
He just opened my eyes to what it's like, most of football is really like. It's playing for your mortgages, the lads. And I thought I'd boss it, and the lads were really good players. Like I was thinking, wow, you're really good players. You could play at a higher level. Just opened my eyes to what it's like and how good. I was thinking, wow, if I've got to get in the team here, how good do I have to be to play in the Premier League? And it just gave me that, wow, how much do I want it, really? And
have you had a moment, like, I'll give you a few examples, like Dan Burn told us that he felt he had to play 100 games as a professional before he could call himself a professional footballer. Ollie Watkins described that it took him 2 seasons before he felt he was a Premier League footballer. Have you had a moment where you finally felt you belonged to be a captain of a Premier League club?
I don't think there was a moment it happened. I just feel like I've built, like you said about the confidence, the experience builds the confidence. I haven't really thought about it like that, and it's so true. I've just built that confidence, and I've got to a point where I'm like, what can't I achieve? Like what I've got no ceiling now. Like what can I do? Whereas I'd always ceiling myself.
Right.
And yeah, I feel like I don't really want to ever think about that, because I just want to keep going, and when I'm a bit older and I finish, then I'll reflect of where I've got to.
And what about playing for England? Because that's obviously the next level for you.
Yeah, that's the ultimate. That's my ultimate. So if I could go back and change what the tutor told me, it would be play for England. Right. And yeah, I feel like I've got that. I've just got that drive, and I'll just work out a way of doing it, what I need to do. And I've got a plan. I've just got to go and execute it, really.
Do you believe you will play for England?
Yeah.
And how important is it to believe that?
Like I've said so many times, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe it. And that's the first thing. And I feel like at every single level, I've always been, that's my ceiling. I went to League Two and it's just not quite good enough, League One, and then started for Forest, had some good games, and then had maybe 50 games where I was good, but Forest is my, mid-table championship's my ceiling. And then every time I've broke through that barrier, I'm just like, I think, well, why, there's no ceiling. It's just the ceiling you put in your head. And that's for anybody as well.
So what do you need to do to play for your country?
I need to be the best player for Forest. And that's all I'm thinking about, be the best player for Forest. I need to start 38 games next season. And if I do that, I give myself a chance. But there's no point thinking about anything. You can strip that back. I need to start the first game of the season, and that's my process. But I sort of need to know that I need to be the best player for Nottingham Forest before anything else.
And have you had any conversations with Thomas Tuchel?
No, I haven't. No.
One day. Have you thought, though, about that first pre-match team talk under the lights at the City Ground in European competition?
You know what? I haven't yet, to be fair.
Have you not?
No, I haven't.
You haven't dreamed?
I haven't, no. Probably because I'm a tad disappointed it's not for the Champions League. But I'm sure I'll get over that at some point.
Well, you have to. I mean, there's no benefit. I know exactly what you're thinking, because you were 2 wins away from lifting the FA Cup, and it was that draw against Leicester. If that goal isn't scored 10 minutes from the end, then you're a Champions League football team. But those are just if, buts and maybes. Like, where's what? You're brilliant at extracting the value out of your life, the value out of your sleep, your nutrition, your friends, your family, your manager, your training. What's the value in sitting here thinking we could be in the Champions League?
I think it's just motivation. And you know what? Because it hurts, I almost want it to hurt. I almost want to feel hurt. I find it really difficult, but I definitely probably play better when I've got that little bit of like, you doubted me. I'm going to prove you wrong. And I can't always find it before games, and maybe I will come to terms with it, and we may achieve Champions League football next year. You know, that's the ultimate aim. But, you know, I feel like sometimes you've got to have things that fire you up.
Yeah. And that reminds me of like the stories of Michael Jordan where he'd invent grudges. He'd make up that somebody had flanked him just so he could then give himself a narrative that goes.
And Michael Schumacher,
I'm going to dominate,
and Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
it's a sort of an old trick, you know, to light a fire in yourself if it isn't lit there already.
Yeah, I felt that against Chelsea last game of the season. I had like this fire, so when I came on, I was like, I'm this is going to happen, and obviously it didn't. But I just remember thinking, if I could find that every game.
At what moment in that game against Chelsea did you start to think, this isn't going to happen?
I didn't, to be fair.
Did you not?
I've got this, like, I think slightly like deluded that, you know, it's always going to be perfect. Maybe because it helps with my anxiety before the game. I don't really know. But, you know, I always say to the lads, like for example, before promotion, we obviously, there's a good period of time after the semi-final of the playoffs to the final. It's like maybe 10, 12 days. And I was just absolutely sure we were going to win. And I don't know if it was my brain protecting itself because it didn't even want to think about losing. Or I sort of subconsciously knew if I could tell everybody, all my family, all the teammates constantly, no, we're going to win. Imagine how good it's going to be in the Premier League. Like, it's going to be amazing. You know, I picked up a new car for Emma, and the guy was a Leicester fan. He said, "Oh, you're looking forward to the game?" And I just remember saying, like, "Oh yeah, we're going to win though. Like, we're going to be in the Premier League next year for sure." And looking back now, I'm thinking, bloody hell, like the amount of people I was saying, like, "Yeah, we're definitely gonna do it." But I feel like you are, like I said at the start, you are what you tell yourself.
Yeah, but again, like, there's parallels here. We recently sat down with John Legend. You know, this is a man that changed his name to Legend. And he was,
Right.
You know what I mean? He was like, well, if I say that, I've now got to live up to it. I've got to be... He won a competition at 15 where he said he was going to become a spokesman for young black boys in America. And he's like, no, I if I speak it, I have to honour it. I then have to be true. And it sounds like there's a pattern for you of sat in that tutor's classroom telling them you're going to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Or now telling us that you're going to play for England.
Yeah.
I think there's something really powerful about what you're doing, Ryan.
Why though? Why am I? Is it accountability? Am I making myself accountable?
Well, I think there's something about that, but there's also something about like psychological priming.
Right.
You're priming yourself you're identifying where you're going to go, and now you're living up to it. You said it yourself that the behaviours that you demonstrated to be a Premier League footballer were different from the guys that were maybe taking shortcuts.
Mm.
You also know, because you've been around the game though for long enough, there are many players playing football with more talent than you, leagues below you.
Mm.
You know it's about those small, those almost insignificant details. If you can focus on those, then you can make a difference in your career. And one of those is believing good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It comes back to the age-old quote: if you think you can't, you won't.
Yeah, true.
If you think you can, you still might not, but you're going to be a damn sight closer to making it happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's focusing on them details and trying to, you know, everyone's different, aren't they? That's probably one of my weaknesses. Is I speak to people and I'm like, why are you not as motivated as me? Like, why do you not think like me? But you have to remember, like, not, and it probably something I need to improve on is like everyone has a different way of thinking. People aren't as quick to, you know, people need more time or whatever. Everyone's different, but it's finding your superpowers, your super strengths, I guess.
It can be a hard way to live, you know, sometimes. I mean, one of my failings is that I see some of the work other people do in various areas that I'm involved in, and I almost feel like I'm bubbling inside with frustration and anger that it isn't how I would have done it, or the level I would have done it, or an oversight, or a tiny... And sometimes I have to remind myself not to be so harsh on people who've made a small oversight. Just, okay, these things happen.
Yeah.
And also sometimes, I don't know whether you feel the same, whether you look at people that are just chilled out, like it's easy only for them, and you think, man, sometimes I am actually jealous of those people that just flow through their football career and it's easy.
Yeah.
And they still play well and they start every week and they're not thinking and overthinking and they're still grabbing a McDonald's on the way home, you know?
I totally agree. Yeah, I do think that. And my oldest cousin, Aaron, is just that. He's the most laid back guy you'll ever meet. And he's like an anomaly in the family. Like we just went on holiday and he's out fishing and he's totally different, but he's so chilled out. I'm like, Aaron, like, do you not want to go and achieve? And he's like, no. And he's totally happy with that. Yeah. He works at my auntie's salon and gets his wage. He's always had the same wage. He doesn't want to push for more clients. He's just so laid back. But it makes me think, what a life that, like, maybe I should do that. You know,
so
I could never.
How happy are you?
I'm happy when I'm improving.
Right, okay. So here's the interesting thing. Who's the high performer then? You, where you're only happy when you're improving and you put yourself through the ringer all the time and you hold yourself to the highest possible standards and sometimes don't meet them and berate yourself and beat yourself up and you're still sitting here frustrated weeks after not making the Champions League despite all the incredible things that you and your team did this season. Or Aaron, who goes to work, helps out his auntie, is chilled, is happy, gets his pay packet, hangs out with his friends. Who's the high performer?
Aaron.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
but I'd be
it's you.
miserable. I would be miserable if I well, not miserable. I would just be lack no motivation. I wouldn't want to do anything if I wasn't seeking more.
Yeah, but I think that's the important thing. I don't think it's a binary. It's you or Aaron. It's like it's on his terms.
Yeah.
He's
And that's the point.
Terms,
high performance is subjective to individuals. He is happy, right? So he is in many ways the ultimate high performer. But you are scrapping and fighting and delving deep for every tiny little thing you've got to make yourself better at where you're at. That also, in so many people's book, is absolutely high performance and also should be lauded and applauded. I wonder if you've got a message for the Forest fans, because, I mean, you are Mr. Nottingham Forest, right? There's going to be expectation next season. There's going to be European football. There's going to be changes this summer. It's going to be different being a team that finished in those... top few places in the Premier League and beat some big sides along the way. What would you want them to hear from their captain at this point?
I would just say, just keep enjoying the journey. It's been some journey, and I feel like with Forest, you just never know. We can achieve even greater things, and I think that's, as a football fan growing up, that's what you want. You want to believe that you can have incredible days like the day at Wembley, and keep riding that wave with us. And thank you so much for the support.
Are you enjoying the journey?
I'm loving it.
Brilliant.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
And before we move to our quickfire questions, after everything you've been through and these amazing conversation, what does high performance look like for you? How would you describe high performance?
I've thought about this a lot, and for me, high performance is whatever your goal, whatever you're going for, just go for it with everything you've got and just leave no stone unturned.
Have you left anything on the table?
No.
How does it make you feel when you answer that?
Good. Fulfilled.
Right, well, let's do it then.
Okay.
Quick fire questions.
Go.
The 3 non-negotiable behaviours that mean the most to you.
3 non-negotiables. Work. Be the hardest working in the room. I think be polite. Be a good person.
Yep.
And to me, be a winner.
Brilliant.
If you could go back to one moment of your life, what would it be and why?
Another one I thought about, but I just cannot get away from the moment the ref blew the whistle to get the club back to the Premier League. I remember Bree Samba went off, he'd hurt his quad, and I turned to the referee and I said, right, like Ethan Horvath came on, so change of goalkeeper, sort of wasting time. I don't know if it was Bree's antics or what, but and I turned to the ref and said, ref, how long left? And he said, it's done. As soon as he kicks his ball, it's done. And I just remember the goosebumps. I remember sort of like just having a quick look at the wall of red at Wembley, and when he blew that whistle, just that feeling was just, if I could just bottle that feeling, and like loads of footballers would probably speak about just that one feeling, maybe the first euphoric moment in their career, any sportsman, euphoric moment in their career, that was mine.
Well, why is that the moment you revisit?
I think I said to myself, obviously a lot of anxiety, a lot of nerves going into the final, just because how much it meant to so many people. Obviously, it spoke about Nottingham Forest, massive club in the Championship for so many years. And I just said to myself, look, because I'm a real overthinker, like I really think about things deeply. And I said to myself, whatever happens today, win, lose or draw, just be really present. So I just was so present the whole day. I just remember everything, the changing rooms, where I was sat, the programme, the warm-up. I just remember everything, what I had for pre-match. And I remember actually the hotel room, I was having a shower maybe 20, 30 minutes before the meeting, and I went to move the head, and the head fell off and the water came spurting out. I went all over my tracksuit. I remember everything. And yeah, just being so present when I can retell it exactly how it happened.
Very good. What's the greatest piece of advice you've ever received, and why?
I'd probably say just be authentically yourself. Just be you.
From Chris?
It could have been from Chris. I don't know. That's the sort of thing he'd say, to be honest. That's what he was saying to me yesterday. Just be authentically you.
And if you could go back and have a conversation with a 15-year-old Ryan, what piece of advice would you offer him?
Look at yourself before blaming others.
And the final question, what do you believe to be the golden rule for living a high-performance life that you'd like to leave people thinking about?
Seek self-improvement.
Ryan, thank you so much. What a brilliant, fascinating conversation. You know what I was thinking? Like, you're such a deep thinker, right? You're so kind of like in the weeds of life and trying to find high performance. I think the magic of Nuno for you has been someone coming in and almost going, stop overthinking. Like, let it be.
Probably, yeah.
He's not going into incredible detail about stuff. He's just saying, just be you. Just play your game. Do your thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's been valuable for you.
Yeah, I agree.
But also, just because people tell you that it's hard work, focusing on tiny details, look where it's taken you, so don't stop.
Yeah. Pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've learned things as we've spoke.
Oh, mate, thank you. It's been one of my favourite conversations we've ever had on air.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, you've been amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you for doing
much.
so much preparation.
Mate, but don't you think these are the sort of conversations we need to have with top flight footballers?
100%.
Because I just think you're so misrepresented. There's football commentary and punditry is getting so full of opinion, and like the more aggressive the opinion, the better, because it does better numbers on socials.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, it happened with you and your owner this season, didn't it? It's like, stop and understand.
Yeah. If you actually understood him, that's why I try and go with the phone. But it's
hard. Yeah. But I love your advice about having a really tight inner circle of, if they tell you, you listen.
Yeah.
So clearly, as a high performance super fan, would you mind sharing a few of the episodes you've listened to and why they made such a difference for you?
Yeah, so I can only recall like certain little parts of each one, but the one with the guy with the top restaurant,
Will
Guidera, yeah, just finding in such a incredibly competitive industry, just trying to be the difference. And you need that difference in business, in football, when it's fine margins, you need that. And it just makes me think of how I could do that. The Sarah Davies podcast, where she just gave me a different perspective on, maybe she talked about imposter syndrome and stuff. And maybe a woman going into business, she was speaking about as well, and how you just have to be super headstrong. Actually, another thing I remember from that podcast is when she spoke about going into Dragon's Den and she thought she had to try and be someone different. I think that's where I got the authentically yourself. I think that was probably from her. You said was it Chris? And I was thinking, I don't think it was, but I think it was from her.
From Sarah.
Obviously, you've got massive names who come on, like Gordon Ramsay, and probably things that I've genuinely can't remember, but it's just gone into my subconscious, and I try and learn from there. All the footballers, Mikel Antonio came on maybe a year or two ago, and he was at Forest, so he was speaking about a few things, and I remember him thinking, I'd love to go on the podcast and speak. And hopefully it's helped a few people.
That's great. And I'm glad that, really what you're saying is that high performance is the reason Forest made it into Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be absolutely clear about that, please, everybody. Well done.
Sound.
So good.
Stop, man.
You know, right, that I love hosting high performance, but something else that I really love is taking the lessons and learnings from these conversations onto a live stage setting. And whether I'm standing in a small room in front of 10 people or myself and Damien are on a stage in front of 5,000 people, we just love to take lessons from the likes of Gordon Ramsay, Fernando Alonso, Dame Stephanie Shirley, Usain Bolt, out into the world, sharing them with people like you. And we've been to South Africa, we've been across Europe, we've been to Dubai, we've been to the United States. But we want to do more. We are really passionate about spreading the lessons and the learnings from high performance. So if you want myself and Damien to come and spend time with you and your business, then all you have to do is hit the link below. I promise you, by the time we're finished, you will have a very different view about what high performance really is. Thanks for watching.